Well, thank you for joining me on my YouTube channel. I really felt that I needed to address this issue. So what I'm going to ask you to do is please give me your attention for probably the next 7 minutes, because it will be well worth it. There is a lot of misinformation spreading on social media about ministries. So occasionally, some misinformation will come about our ministry, and there's others that are just being hammered. And I know for a fact, and I'm not going to get into that part of it, but I know for a fact that some of this will come out as absolute false information, rumors that were not even true. So we'll let that deal with that. But there are people that do not understand how a 501c3, which is a non-for-profit organization, actually operates by the laws of the IRS. And here's what's happened in my situation that I want to share with you from time to time. I have been with some very dear friends in the state of Virginia that have known me for 40 years. And I had a gentleman here the other day that's a cartoonist working with us. And I've known him, I guess, for about 40 years or so. And when we were sharing with them how our ministry operates, in something I'm going to tell you, they were shocked. They didn't know that. In fact, some of them were almost stunned. When you watch a manifest telecast and you see me come on, or you hear a voiceover, they call it, come on with a book, CD, or a DVD, and we're offering it to help pay the expenses of the ministry, there are millions of people who assume that somehow Perry Stone gets a commission, or he gets a payment, or he gets a royalty from those sales. That is absolutely, totally, 100% incorrect. As a matter of fact, the only royalties I've ever received is when I was under contract with Charisma Media to write books. And everything that we sold through the ministry went 100% to the ministry, but Charisma gave me a very nice advance thanks to Steve Strang. But we don't do that. The majority of our books, I would say 70 of them, have been written by me and published to the ministry. Now, this is what's interesting. If it takes me 6 months or a year to write a book, and I spend hours after hour after hour after hour, and we offer it and print it through the ministry, I get absolutely zero, nothing from those sales. Here's a second thing. When you order something from VOE, the same thing is true. When you go to a conference, and if it is a book, CD, DVD, audio tape with my voice on it, when I say audio tape, we do audio CDs, I receive zero, nothing from those sales. Here's the reason why. We are a 501c3 organization, which means all of the income that comes in, whether it's offerings, unless somebody does designate an offering for my wife and I, which rarely happens, but it does happen. But all the offerings from churches, all the income from resources, all the partners' money goes into the voice of evangelism for 7 world outreaches. Now, the second criticism I often hear is that, well, preachers are just after your money. And it's so funny when I hear that, because I think no, and I start thinking about coffee shops, I think about grocery stores, I think about automobile dealerships. They want your money. You know, they want your money. They have to sell something to provide that to you. But tithing is not a trick. Tithing's biblical. Giving offerings are also biblical. So those who really love the Lord are glad to do it. I've been tithing since I was 11, and my wife never goes to church, ever, in the 40 years we've been married or more, without writing a check, even if we're visiting a church. And that's why we've been blessed. Let's go back to the ministry. I'm going to show you, this is a list right here, okay? And I'm going to read to you what my expenses were in 1 year. This is from our board meeting. Broadcast television airtime, $3,859,000. Bank fees and card processing. You know, every time you use a credit card to buy something from Perry Stone Ministries, we pay the fee. We don't charge you the fee. We paid $169,000 to credit card companies for people using their credit card to purchase our material. Conventions and events, $296,000. That would be the Warrior Fest. That's the main event. That's the Prophetic Summit. That's traveling during these regional conferences. Computer, software, and internet expense, $267,000. Insurance, we have to have insurance on property, hospitalization. Last year, $429,884. Let me just go through. Okay, postage and delivery. No, we pay the postage. It has to be paid, of course, to send the material out. Listen to my postage bill last year: $387,998. My printing bill last year to print books and material: $501,017. Professional fees, that's attorneys and lawyers, $79,000. Repairs and maintenance, $683,695. You say that's high, but yes, we have the ISO building, the Omega Center International building, we have the Lodge, we have the VOE, which has four property buildings on it. And here's another one, four buildings on the property. And here's another one, taxes and licenses, $168,000. Now, just the list, I haven't read it all because it goes longer. The total expenses for Voice of Evangelism to run a global ministry reaching possibly 1 billion people, doesn't mean you're reaching, but the potential is to reach 1 billion, was $12,530,000. Now, for people who say that ministries don't need money, churches don't need money, just look at this list. Now, I'm going to ask you a question. Is it worth spending $12,530,000 for last year having over 250,000 people come to know Jesus for the first time? Can I tell you, we often hear preachers say, Jesus would have gone to the cross if only one would have been saved. Well, then you know what? I will spend this amount even if one soul can get saved and make it into eternity and snatched out of hell. Now, the reason I'm sharing that with you is this. This is what people don't know. I cannot go into the Voice of Evangelism account, and neither can any legitimate 501c3 organization, non-for-profit, and spend that money any way I want. You cannot do that. For example, you see these nice shirts that my wife picks out, they last forever. But these shirts, although I only wear them to preach in, and I only wear them for YouTube and TV, so technically they are the official outfit for my work. Now, the Catholic Church and the Catholic priests can take their I'm sorry, I'm having a brain moment, but they take their outfit as a priest, and they can deduct that on their taxes. We can't. In the old days, if a minister took his suits to the laundry, you could deduct that. Now, if you pay for it in your town, you can't deduct it now, but you can deduct it if you're outside the city where you are and you happen to be ministering. Now, here's my point. My point is, and I'm straightening this out not just for me. I don't need to straighten it out for me because my partners know this. I'm straightening it out for all you people who criticize ministries and just think they can just do whatever they want. They cannot. So when you hear someone saying, these people did this for that, they raised money and they didn't spend it where it's supposed to be. If that money is non-designated in a ministry, it can be spent, in my case, for 7 different outreaches. But if it's designated specifically and it's publicly made known, then it is spent for that project. That's one of the IRS rules and laws that you have to go by. Another thing, a minister, if you are ordained or licensed minister, you can be given what's called a housing allotment for your house. But I know a friend of mine that had 2 different places that he called a parsonage, and you know what? He got in trouble with the IRS for that. So here's my point. If you have a business and you have a business account as a business, then you can pretty much spend that the way you want. You cannot do that with a 501c3 non-for-profit organization. And there are many rules that you have to go by. There are many things that you have to deal with because of that. So you walk very careful, you walk a thin line. We have been audited by an independent company. We cleared it 100%. They advise us to do 2 or 3 things, like if we give a donation to a ministry, have a letter of where it went to. These were things that we knew where it was going to, but they just wanted to help us have a better record. So we've been audited before. We always make sure that when people give to us, that it goes to where it's supposed to go to. We have the Missions Fund, we have the Samaritan Fund, we have the VOE Fund, we have the OCI Land Fund, which helps take care of Omega Center International repairs. And I think my book bookkeeper balances about 5 different checkbooks. God bless her. She's about to retire on us. I don't know what I'm going to do. But she balances those, and we keep things in an order. And we fill out papers every year to refile for the things we do. And it used to be you had one sheet of paper for a 501c3. Now it's like this that you have to file for. So don't be deceived by YouTube people who do not know what they're talking about when they start complaining about income and about money. One of the big ministries that I know, I think this is a brilliant idea that was started by a friend of mine. They have a business account that is strictly the business account of the ministry, and they have a separate partner's account to keep it separate. That is a brilliant idea. And I said that to his wife, that was one of the greatest ideas. That was just a genius to keeping that separate. So I wanted to correct some of the misinformation. I drive a very nice Jeep Wagoneer. But you know how I paid for that Wagoneer? Ball cards. The ministry did not pay for that. No, the ministry doesn't give us anything to make payments on that. It's paid for because I have a hobby of sports card, and I sold enough sports cards to buy that Jeep Wagoneer. That's really the truth. I think I paid taxes $14,000 for a brand new one. But see, that was personal. Those were my ball cards. So that was a blessing from the Lord. So somebody thank the Lord for that blessing, and maybe yours will come. You get critical of somebody's blessing, you're never going to have one. But that was a blessing of the Lord. He gave us wisdom on how to do that. So my point is that there are rules and regulations of what you can spend. There are rules and regulations of tracking it. There are rules and regulations. And one of the reasons they're so strict is that in people's giving, you can give them a tax deduction for their giving. So that's part of the blessing of a 501c3, but there are many, many limitations that you do have. So I wanted to share that information with you, and hopefully it will help some of you understand. So if you hear somebody blasting this and blasting that, they don't probably know what they're talking about more than likely as it relates to how these things actually operate. They're just repeating a story that someone wanted to tell for sensationalism. So anyway, I remember when my budget was about $40,000 a year, and I thought that is so heavy. How are we going to cover that? And my dad used to say, son, I'm worried about you because you're going in debt. Well, the Lord has helped us, and that is because of our resources are a big part of how we carry the ministry every single year. And of course, we have great partners. So what I want you to understand is that the electricity is not free. I didn't even give you my electric bill here. I didn't even give you the 800 number phone bill that we have to pay. It goes on and on and on. This is just a general list. So my purpose of this is not to share with you these heavy expenses that we carry, but to share with you it takes income for a church or a ministry of any kind to reach the entire world. Look, we're not just a local ministry. We're not just a state of Tennessee. We're not just an American ministry. We get more results overseas with Manifest, YouTube, and with our appearances on Christian television than way we do in the United States. So why do we keep doing it? Because I want to stand before God and hear him say, well done. And for those of you that help a major ministry of any kind to do this type of work, reaching people, you have a part of that reward. Now, to me, that's the most exciting part. Well, I hope you learned something. Maybe if you learned something you didn't know, just give it a thumbs up. And I just hope that it helps kind of clear the air to help you understand, especially maybe from our perspective of ministry, how things actually operate. God bless all of you. Thank you for your prayers. And for those of you that support us, thank you for that as well. Give it a thumbs up.
Red Hawk County 911, where's your emergency?
There is a horse trailer and a dually just hit an SUV, drove it all the way across the road.
Okay, yeah, if you could just find out if there's any injuries or entrapment.
There's entrapment, I can tell you that right now.
It was 10 o'clock Saturday morning when I FaceTimed my precious second cousin and very dear friend, telling her about my daughter Amanda preparing to trade in her old vehicle for a new one. I did not know it would be my last conversation with my cousin on the earth. Hours later, I received a call that she'd been killed in an intersection in Elkins, West Virginia. For months, I experienced very intense sorrow while wrestling with so many unanswered questions. Why did God allow a 63-year-old woman, a caregiver with so many future plans, to die so suddenly and without warning? For 3 months, I pored over Scripture almost day and night for answers. Out of my research and personal grief, I wrote this 209-page book called Why Did You Leave Us So Soon? The Mystery of a Premature Death, to answer my questions and also questions you have asked me over the years. Here's a few chapter titles. There's a time to die and a time not to die. The danger of being with the wrong people at the wrong place at the wrong time. Why are some healed and others are not? Why did one person die, yet another person survived the same accident? How does a person break a protective hedge? How Christians can commit a sin unto death. Why do infants suddenly pass away? Does God honor a deathbed repentance? Here's a few more. How sinning Christians can be delivered to the will of Satan. The danger of offending your angel. Suicide and questions about eternity. Why are many Christians sick, weak, and many have died young? Why at times when you need an answer does God seem to say nothing? That's only 12 of the 22 chapters in the book. I want to say this, if you've ever lost a loved one to death and you had many unanswered questions, I hope you will order this book. It answers numerous confusing questions about the mystery of why people seem to die before their time. It will also teach you the biblical principles of learning how to discern coming danger and pray against it. That's a very important part of this book as well. When you order this new book, I'm including a very powerful audio CD that my dad said to me before he passed away. Perry, let people hear this. It's one of the most important messages I've ever heard. Don't go to hell over a mystery. You can call 1-888-21-BREAD or order online at perrystone.org or request offer WWS-146 and include $30 by writing Perry Stone, P.O. Box 3595, Cleveland, Tennessee 37320. Again, that's offer WWS-146. You may not need this book now, but you may need it in the future. I hope you'll order it today.
If you enjoyed this YouTube content, there's an important website you should know about: perrystone.org. Perrystone.org is an essential resource for the latest books, audiovisual presentations, and digital products from Perry Stone Ministries, resources that cover the same kinds of topics discussed in the program you just watched. Stop in and see all that's available at perrystone.org.